Hey everyone, so make sure you're using the code LAGSTARS this weekend. It starts tomorrow. If you haven't started saving on packs yet, make sure you hit me up. There is a link in the description and you can join my Discord to learn more. So I wanted to follow up the last video with this one as living proof and data of what I'm saying. So when I say that alpha FTPs can absolutely ruin an entire server, I just took a peep, right? Because I was curious. They got a merge, and I'm like, oh, I want to see what this merge is going to be like. And it's so funny seeing all these people I thought they quit. Like Noof. I can't believe Noof is still there. It's there's a lot of great people on 1008. I will just put that out there because I know there's people that still watch this channel, and I'm sorry that I'm gonna have to be really candid about things. I'll try not to use specific names, but you know, some people kind of deserve it. So anyways, we're going to basically show you. I can't believe Wolflink is still there. That's so crazy. So basically, this monarch came to the server and he says, "Hello 1008, it seems we will be merging with you. Is this an active server?" So I don't know about you, but I think this is completely polite and welcoming and engaging, and this sounds like a very nice person. Now, he didn't change his name or she didn't change their name because sometimes they just want to gauge how they will be treated by people without actually knowing who they are. Because if they would change their name to their like 58 billion power player, people will probably automatically just be nice, right? They want to see who these people are. And that is actually what I did when I first started in 1008. I was a huge, big player in my other game, but I did not want to be that player. I did not want to be like that type of player anymore. I just wanted to be like one of those gentle giants that just chill, that, you know, just kind of help the alliance out, but like just chill, you know? And that's the type of player that I wanted to be on my next game. Unfortunately, I got stuck with these types of hens, you know, these like alpha hens, and the amount of jealousy is real when it comes to, you know, if you have a big account and you're just like trying to just mind your own business, people will try to pick you apart if you're not a part of their alliance, right? And instead of recruiting you and being nice to you and trying to get you into their alliance, instead, this alpha FTP person basically killed off every early coiner. This is the number one mistake that I will say a lot of servers fall into. You'll get a lot of these alpha FTP players that come from older generation servers. They'll come to a new server, and because they have that knowledge, they will set up their alliances, right? But they want to be the number one alliance and be in power. But instead of getting all of the coiners in one alliance, they kill off competition. And when you're killing off your coiners on your server, that is the stupidest thing you can ever possibly do. So unfortunately, that was the situation of this server. Okay, so it's kind of funny because like I ended up in Val, and the other person that was like, you know, who gave the account to the alpha FTP person, he ended up in a good alliance in C6. So we both were better off, and I feel bad because I think that he wanted the server to be successful, but unfortunately, he left the keys to the server to this just really nasty alpha FTP hen. And she was only there to have affairs with men, right? So she was the one that had an affair with some married guy, and they basically got married on the server. I didn't YouTube then, but if I would have YouTubed that, I definitely would have freaking posted that because it was just freaking cringy as hell. It was just the like, and they would say that I was cringe. And I'm like, you're fucking getting married with your little castles and keeps. Like, come on. And then they would make it like the whole server's business, right? Like the whole server had to be involved. I'm so glad that I zeroed these people. They're such idiots. Anyways, going back to this. And High King Fen, I remember High King Fen. She was very, very nice. And Comical, I remember Comical. So yeah, there's a lot of nice people still there. But the way that they reacted to that person that was, inquiring about them was just like suspicious, right? They weren't being very friendly. They were being kind of rude, right? And this is funny. Ketsa hated me. I really have the impression that we have been being watched by another server, maybe paranoid. Well, of course you're being watched by the other server, and you're being watched on my YouTube channel because I have to bring this to light. I have to show you guys why I'm so passionate against alpha FTPs, okay? I'm so passionate about it. So you got somebody here saying, if it is 1093, I'm against. I'd rather be merged with a more equal power server. You don't have a choice, right? This is the brain of the freaking alpha FTPs. They think they're so entitled to think that they actually have a choice in the matter, right? And so you have people crying and saying, personally, I would have preferred the merger with 1900 or 2000. We don't choose, and we have the worst situation. And then it says, it appears they are merging or just merged with 1005. Why merged again so quickly? This is already saying that they're fucked, right? I'm sorry. I shouldn't curse, but they are screwed. I could tell just by them saying that they were merged already. And 1093 is like a C4 server, C5. It's fairly new, 2 years. So that's not good news for them. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at their progress and stats. So it looks like Medusa and this Soul Killer person, who I don't know who that is. They're the only ones with like 12 million generals, which is probably very, very low. Most of the, servers in C4, they have multiple people that have, lots of generals that are higher. Looking at Monarch power, this is very, very low. You have Medusa, who's the biggest player at 21 billion, Marzi 16, Wolfling 16. This is a very, very low power server, which is actually better for them, right? It's actually better for them to be lower power because they would get so screwed in matchups and battlefields. They would just get pummeled. So at least they know to not build up their power. But who knows? Maybe they just don't have the ability to build up their power. So this is where I wanted to prove to you guys why you should never have alpha FTP run your server. It's because of this. C4 server, their biggest alliance is 174 billion power. Their second, 78, 75, 53, 15. Okay? And the rest are just probably farms or dead. Guys, this is a sad existence for a server. And I'm so, I don't mean to be condescending to them. It's just that they didn't listen, right? They didn't listen to how the game should be run. They had, the stupid council that I always tell you guys, the councils are the stupidest things. And just looking at all of these people in this alliance. Oh, Decate is still there, and he's 9 billion. That was my old account. And wow, I can't believe all these people are still here. But as you can see, there's just not a lot of big players in these alliances. And the biggest issue is that you have a lot of the bigger players scattered about, right? And so what did I say in my other video? You want to have all of your biggest active players all combined into one alliance so that instead of being a 174 billion, alliance power, you could be a 400 or a 500 billion alliance power. Now, I understand that there are, what do you call it? Time zone issues, right? So in 1008, there were a lot of Japanese and a lot of Koreans. So it did make sense that the Japanese would have their own, battlefield times and stuff like that. But you can always combine the people for challenge. And I remember when we were leaving 1008, we tried to get everybody combined. And there was just, still issues from the alpha FTP. And we did go through a civil war, and we, basically had a war for 3 days, and then those people bailed because they couldn't handle the heat. But it's one of those things that, oh, and by the way, this is the alliance I used to be in. And do you see that no dirty talk? I think that was meant for me and a couple of other Americans in the alliance. But we were in this alliance. And so, as you can see, we were all scattered around. Now, a couple of us used to be in the biggest alliance, the BBP alliance, and we left because we were tired of being like in just it was not a real alliance, right? It was basically a lot of desperate housewives that were basically married with children, and they were sexting like all the guys in the alliance, and the guys are like paying for their packs and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't actually find this out until I left. And then there were like, not only did the Alpha FTP from the other alliance that ruined the server have an affair, there were other affairs that were going on. It was just a lot of affairs. Like this was probably like the horniest server I've ever been on. And I mean, I have to say, like, some of it was fun. Like, some of the cougars were fun. I enjoyed, laughing with them. But that was their focus and their goal. And if you're coming to a game to escape and play PvP, and you're not there to, like, ruin marriages, and do you know what I mean? You're not there for Tinder. It's really hard to make that type of alliance into like a serious battlefield alliance, okay? So knowing when to cut your losses is really important, because I probably stayed on this server probably 8 months too long. I should have cut my losses maybe 3 to 4 months in, right? I should have realized, like, this is just not how, like, other teams play. But the problem is because our server was so little, I like by luck and chance made all stars, okay? And I was the only person, I think, that made majors on the server at the time, and that opened up my entire world. So please, if you are not in all stars yet, if you are in a small server, the first thing that you should do is join my Discord channel. And from my Discord channel, you can meet other people in other Discord channels, right? It'll list out like a bunch of other Discord channels that you can join. And the moment you start really learning the community and how to play this game, and you're going to realize it's going to open up a whole new world for your game. And that was probably the first All-Stars I played, was probably my absolute favorite All-Stars, because it was like, it was brand new, right? It was a brand new feeling. It was like you're in this tournament and you're meeting all these people, and it was just fun. And I can't say enough that you are missing out completely if you're wasting your time on an Alpha FTP server. I feel so bad for you. Like, I'm so passionate about this because I know that I experienced it, and I spent and wasted so much money for these people, carrying them for SVSs. Truly, like, I'm not shitting you when I say that literally I had to carry this server on SVS sometimes by myself. And it's nothing like 580 now. I mean, Duke is usually carrying the rest of the server, and I'm totally happy with that because it was always so stressful. You know what I mean? It just was so stressful, and then it wasn't fun. And then the Alpha FTP person would always like complain. It didn't matter like how much I would help the server win SVSs, there was always something wrong. And she would always be like, okay, we're gonna bubble and burn. Like, dude, we just won SVS. But she would always basically decide if it was nap or bubble and burn on a daily basis. And that's why I don't want that to happen in 580. I would rather just say, you know what, we're all bubble and burn. That's it. We're bubble and burn until XYZ is done. And I know a lot of people want nap, but I'm sorry, but we're not going to keep going back and forth every day because it's not fair to people. If you get people used to bubbling every day, then at least they're going to be able to protect themselves, right? And so I could not handle being on that server. And just know that this is the result. This data is the result of like how small their alliances are, how small their keeps are. They're and they're probably sitting there thinking like they're, top shit, and they're really not in the scheme of things. And I don't want that for all of you. I want you guys to be able to experience this game. None of them have a challenge castle. I want you all to be able to at least experience being able to have a challenge castle or a red sub. Like, you're wasting your time if you're on a server like this that are ruled by FTP. So this server ranking is 779 in SVS, which is pretty bad, I think. But it sounded like their 1093 server that they're merging with is number 243, which is actually pretty good, especially for a, again, like a C4 server. So I can already tell that the alpha FTP hens that always think like that always, are the queen bees of that server, they're going to have such a rude awakening. And I can just see it now. I can see one of them that like is like only 3 billion power mouthing off to like the 58 billion. I can just see it all. It's such like karmic retribution. I love it. I love it. This is how I always know that I'm on the right side of things, is when these types of things happen. And it's good to know, because I also like I've had bad karma. Like, I truly believe in karmic things, and I'll know like when I'm on the right side of things is when I see the outcome. And when I see like, okay, these people just, got matched up with this monster server, man, they're going to get like chewed up and spit out. I think chewed up and spit out. And there was somebody from my YouTube channel that said that they're on 1093. So make sure if you're in 1093 to contact me, Baby Bear Sings, on Discord, and I can give you guys like whatever you need to know about the server. Now, I haven't been there for 2 years, but they look like they're the exact same way as when I left it. So all I have to say is, make sure PSP, do not pick on PSP. They are the most amazing alliance. Even though they're very small, they are small but mighty, and they are so helpful in SVS. All of them are amazing players, so don't pick on PSP. I will like come after you if you go after Cortez and the PSP crew. Okay, so I want to go down memory lane and see my old account. So I can't believe this. That is my keep. Oh my god. That is my favorite castle, and I don't have that one in 580. And that is my dragon that I got from All Stars. That is so crazy. And I cannot believe that he is still only K40. Wow. So the interesting thing is, this is a German alliance. So again, if they wanted to succeed, I mean, could the German team see what time zones match up with other teams on the server and combine, right? Instead of staying small. But this Soul Killer person is new, and they have a Cake 10 keep, and that's a recent one. So I'm very curious to see who Soul Killer is. But again, K40. But as you see in this alliance, they just don't have, many big castles, many big keeps. Okay. And so that is the problem, is that you have, multiple castles here that could be combined with other alliances. But yeah, this is tough to see. I'm sorry to see this. And this is the second biggest alliance. So now I'll show you the biggest alliance, BBP, which is the Alpha Hen FTP driven alliance. But the cool guy there is Medusa, Fox. There's Comicals there. The Koreans are there. There's some really cool players there, but it's run by the Desperate Housewife Hens. And let's see if there's any other like K44s here. I'm not seeing, okay, there's a 41, and then I'm not seeing any other 44s besides Medusa. Ugh, that's awful. It makes me it's so sad to see, and it looks like they don't even have family members, or are those all real accounts? I think those are real accounts. I remember there's a lot of Korean players there. So yeah, I'm I am curious to see PSP now. So Kotez and Ten, they are excellent PvP players. They're going to be loved, I think, by the other server. They are just super polite. They, are so great at PvP and they just stay in their own lane. Do you know what I mean? They don't cause any controversy. They don't complain in world chat, but you'll see they're just a very, very small team. And I do feel bad that when we left, like our keeps went to other places, even though they were very good at, housing us. But we just have to do what's best for our gameplay, and we were not going to be able to succeed here. And the way that we had to do All-Star Majors is we had to take turns. So when I got All-Star Majors, I stepped out and I said, okay, we're going to push, Kotez next, right? We would try to push that one person to make All-Star Majors, and it just was really hard to just push like that one person to majors when the competition is so stiff. And so having to wait to play All Stars instead of playing it every single season, that was just a kind of a sacrifice. And I was willing to do it because I really liked the people in the alliance, right? But you just have to be realistic and say, you know what? Only Kotez is probably the only person in that alliance that actually could ever make the All-Star Majors. And so it was just really difficult with the size of that alliance and the size of the matchups. And then we did have one alpha FTP that was like 600 million power that wanted to be pushed the next time. And it's like, okay, now instead of, every other time I get to play All Stars, it's now going to be every third, every fourth time. And I knew that this, 600 million power player is not going to make it, but he was he was something else. He would have all of these game girlfriends and he would have them push him. So they would give him RSS and they would open up barbs for him. And he would always just jump around and basically use these people for his game. It was just like, guys, I'm so glad I left that server. It was just kind of gross. Anyways, so I want to show you guys 1093 now, just to show you guys the contrast. And this is why I think that 1008 is probably not in the best position. I'm not going to waste like an alt chance to go visit the servers, so we're just going to check it out this way. And I I honestly, I've never heard of this server before. I mean, maybe I have in passing, but 1093, this is Queen Purple, and she has 58 billion power. Like 1008, this is like, isn't this like one alliance in 1008? This is ridiculous. And so I'm assuming that Queen Purple is a female, and this is going to be very scary for all of the alpha queen bee hens in BBP. Oh my god. They have a rude awakening coming from them, and I'm sure they're going to be very jealous of her. And hopefully she is not going to put up with the BS. I mean, I don't think she will. So, looking at their alliance, we've got some castles that are over 40, but for 1093 alliance, they don't have a lot, right? So what I noticed about this alliance is that they have really big like island type players, and then the rest of the alliance is small, and I'm assuming that's why they needed these merges, right? Because you've got, probably 3 or 4 really strong spenders, and then you have these smaller keeps. Now, so purple is 58 billion and 45. And then you've got Curly, who's 27 billion. And then this kind of says it all when you have somebody named Egotistical at 42 billion and you have one named Toxic at 38. That is going to tell you a lot about who they are and how they're going to play on the game. And then if you look at their alliance, and they have a challenge castle, it's Bubble Up Buttercup. Okay, so this is definitely a bubble and burn server. So 1008, you're gonna have to bubble. You're gonna have to learn how to bubble and just bubble the first day of the merge. It will be interesting to see what they do with 1008 because of all the big keeps scattered. I will say, like, I wish that, PSP could merge into this one because I think they would really, really like Kotez. But because that alliance is so small and probably on a Japanese time zone, that probably won't work out, but they won't be a threat to you, right? Like they have small, very, very small, like keeps there that it's not a threat if they don't end up like merging together. But what I think they'll probably do is they'll probably take like the biggest players in SLG, the biggest players in BHA, and probably the biggest players in BBP. That's what I assume. So they'll most definitely want Medusa and Silver and other PvP players, but I'm sure that they're going to be attached to conditional players that are not going to be ideal for their alliance, that are those alpha, desperate housewife, hens. And so, again, remember when I told you guys in the last video, you don't want to have the whole like relationship, sexting, all that kind of stuff like overlapping because a lot of those, hens are going to be going after like the bigger keeps and it's going to be really, really interesting. And then it will be really funny if like somebody steals away Medusa. That will be freaking hilarious. It's just, it's all very, very, very weird. But I do wish this merge well because even though I didn't necessarily like a lot of people on this server, the people that I do like, they deserve to have a merge where they actually get to play a real battlefield. And hopefully, maybe if Kotez can't merge in with this alliance full time, maybe they can have Kotez join for challenge. And then Kotez will actually get to know what it's like to play on a challenge winning team, right? I don't actually know what rank they made in challenge, but they got the castles. So they obviously did a good job there. So that's all I want for the people that I really like. I want them to be able to enjoy like their fruits of labor and their time and their money. And they got the short end of the stick with the server. And just for them to get to experience an alliance like this is going to be so, so good for them. And so I'm really hoping that the server merge does go well, but I also am hoping that some of those alpha FTP hens just like get a taste of like, I don't know, their own medicine. Or rather, I really hope that they get put into their place where they get decrowned. That would be really funny. So yeah, this is just a warning for all of you guys out there that this is what the detriment is of alpha FTPs that run the server. And if you let it happen, you are just as responsible. If you're a coiner, you are just as responsible for enabling it. And it was always interesting to me that like the biggest players in Val like always complained about these alpha FTP players. And it was just like, why? Why are you complaining? You can just stop now, And it was funny because I don't know how to pronounce her name, but one of the players, the big players that left, she zeroed a bunch of those players on the server. And now, like, looking at it, I totally get her. So I totally understand why she did it because she was just so sick of these people telling her like what's up when she's in this huge keep and contributing so much to the server and she's got these alpha people. Oh my god, I get it now. I get it and I understand, and that is why we aren't going to put up with it anymore. And it might seem extreme, it might seem very like uncompassionate, but we gotta reset the server to like how it's supposed to be run. And hopefully by the time we get our alliance, where we need it to be, the hater rogue is going to, get bored and we can get the server back to nap. But for right now, we need to show people that when there is a rogue, everyone is going to basically have to suffer for that, right? So we're going to have to be bubble and burn until that person's gone. And if somebody else decides they're going to go rogue, they have to understand that their actions are going to affect the whole server. And unfortunately, yes, this means that it affects most of the people that are smaller players because if a big player goes rogue, there's just like there's nothing that you can really do to control that. And so that's why you need the big players to align and agree, because the worst thing that's going to happen to a Battlefield team is if one of the actual big players goes rogue, right? So it's a whole balancing act, and it's a whole balancing game, but it's an easy choice. If you had to choose between the biggest alliance and one like FTP alpha FTP player causing ruckus, it was an easy choice for people to be like, you know what? We are not siding with this guy. We are going to stay out of world chat. We're going to stay out of this thing. But unfortunately, people inserted themselves, and this is where we're at. And it's all their choices because they're entitled FTP players. And we are not going to let that ruin our server. We're not going to let that happen like it happened in 1008. And as you see in 1008, that is the effects of alpha FTP running the server. That's it. That's the truth. And I have actually a twist ending. Okay, I've got a twist ending. So it turns out that Theo, who is one of our beloved fillers, is in 1093. And so I put Kotez and Theo together because they're both in our Val chat, and they both have filled for us. And so this is like how like the world, like everything comes full circle. So I basically said to Theo, I said, please, like, take care of Kotez and PSP. Because I was really worried, like, that they might get bullied. And he's like, no, we'll take care of them. Because he even said, like, oh, I saw, like, a really good Japanese player. And he was like, there's that, and there's a 44. And so we were talking about the server, and I was like, please, like, take care of her. And I, like, got to put them together and tag them. So hopefully they'll start conversations. And this just goes to show why like good karma is like out there. Like good karma really matters. I can't explain to you how much like Kotez had my back when I was in that alliance. And it's just like all this nostalgia of all the food pictures and all the scenery of Japan. And the like I just worried for her and her alliance because they're so small, and I can't believe that Theo is in the main alliance. And I'll have to say that if I was going to choose anybody to play my All-Stars keep, Theo is probably the only one that I would have play my keep. I can't even tell you what an amazing player he is. He always outscores me anytime he plays. I always know. And it's really funny because like there'll be a lot of fillers that, play, but I always know when he plays because he outscores me and he never talks on voice chat. So when I'm like, why is PQs keep beating me? And I'm like, yeah, that's Theo. And then if after we are finished, I'm always like, is that Theo? He is a really, really good player, and any team is lucky to have him. And I mean, believe me, we like can we have him? Can we adopt him? But it sounds like he's on a good team. I mean, they have the Challenge Castle, and it just makes sense. Like they have a bunch of good players there. So hopefully this merge will be good for them, but hopefully they don't get dragged into like all of the desperate housewife horny shit because they're too good for that. So I'm so excited, guys. And I'm sorry that I'm doing like another long podcast type thing, but I think that you guys need to understand and see the proof of this. And if anything that I say can help your game or help your new game or help your current game or help your old game, when it comes to these types of players, and sometimes you might think like, why is my game so complacent, or why is my game not going anywhere? And you're going to realize like after listening to this that there are certain players that block you and keep you and hold you back. And once you get rid of those blockers, it might take a while. You might have to reset the server. You might get hated. You might get hate mail. But once you do that, you're going to be so happy that you're finally going to be able to get out of the game what you paid for. And that's all I want for you guys, is because you're paying so much money. Like, make sure you're getting every event, every single like experience you can from the money that you put in. Don't, don't get stuck because other players hold you back. That's all I have to say. Hope you guys use my code LAGSTARS, and I will see you guys soon.